7 years ago, on a night out in Amsterdam, I was raped. I went home with a new friend that I'd made, and as I walked through his front door, he put a syringe of the date rape drug, GHB, into my mouth. I collapsed on the floor, and I woke up in his bed. Today's talk is not for me to explain to you what happened that night, though. Rather, the journey that I've been on as I've become one of the leading activists in the Netherlands on sexual violence, and that I've launched the first organization for male and queer survivors of sexual assault. To paint a picture for you, I grew up witnessing injustice. My twin brother has autism and learning disabilities. He can't read or write, and his understanding of the world is simple. Vulnerable is a word that I will use carefully because vulnerability is often stigmatized. Someone has told me that people are not vulnerable, but that their vulnerability is exploited by other people, and I agree. Yet, when somebody cannot clean, cannot cook, and cannot look after themselves, all of these vulnerabilities almost coalesce into one. I grew up watching the way in which my brother was different, that he was treated differently by the world and stigmatized. And as we turned 18 and he moved into adult care services, he became embroiled in 2 consecutive care scandals in the UK. He was punched in the face by a nurse, and in total 24 people have been convicted of abuse in these 2 facilities. And so I've always known and been acutely aware that people can be abused. And I have a fierce opposition to injustice when I see it. Within our vibrant LGBTQIA+ community, we know a thing about injustice. We face the illegality of our existence, the stigma of HIV, and the struggle every day to just be ourselves in a world that was designed against us. We are in a constant defense mode. And so Pride is a moment for us to come together in a proud display of love and show the world that we exist and stand up for those who are yet to be freed from the confines of stigma and show the world who we are. And it's that love that necessitates that as we come together during Pride, we also look inwards and recognize that we have work to do among ourselves. The book In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado identifies and acknowledges the heteronormative lens in which we often view abuse. And while we are in a constant defense mode, it is hard to look inwards. But in order to build a sustainable community that cares for everyone, we must. According to the Belgian agency Belspo, 80% of LGBTQIA+ will experience sexual violence in their lifetime. That's an enormous amount. And we also have some of the highest rates of homelessness, of addiction, of suicide, and of interpartner violence. And in addition to these minority stresses that we face every day, we also show signs of intra-community minority stress. That is the pressure that we place upon ourselves to act, perform, and be a certain way. And so as we use Pride to come together, to look inwards, I believe that it's the moment to work towards building a community with a culture of care. So what does a community with a culture of care look like for me? Well, I believe that we must become better trauma-informed. While we can never hold people's trauma, we can hold space for them to heal. I believe that we need to begin to amplify the voices of all types of survivors. These can become amazing advocates and ambassadors for our community. We must also be conscious of the hierarchies of victimhood that we create when we focus only on one type of violence or one type of victim. And we must use our privilege where we can to help those who are not afforded with the same privileges. Not only does this help them, but it also helps dismantle the structures and systematic oppression that marginalize all of us. We have shown time and time again that we are one of the most fierce, resilient, and loving communities. And with a little more focus on the challenges that we face inside, I believe we can also become one of the most secure. So my message to you today, and my ask, is that you go home and think about what can I do to make my community stronger and build and nurture a community with a culture of care. And I want to end on a note. My brother has taught me all of this without knowing about or understanding any of it. And so you really can change the world when being vulnerable. Thank you.